We got to start today's episode off by shedding some light on our NFC North sub-battle because currently we are in second place right behind Bears now. We've been trailing them for the entire month of April. It's almost over. We got to make that final push during these last couple of weeks, and I need you guys to help me do so, okay? Let's extend the lead over the Lions and the Vikings. Let's catch up to the Bears. All you have to do is hit that sub button. Adam Schefter gave a brand new update on the Jaire Alexander saga, and we are going to break it all down right here on the Packers Report. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. I am your host, Joey Petersen, and it has been an up and down the last couple of months in regards to Jaire Alexander. Here's a look at the timeline. January 13th, right after the loss to the Philadelphia Eagles in the locker room cleanout the day after, Jaire said, "I don't even know if I'm going to be here next year." And then Ian Rappaport, a month and a half later, released a statement saying that Green Bay has had trade conversations surrounding Jaire Alexander. Then a month later after that, ESPN said Green Bay is still trying to trade him after the first week of NFL free agency. 2 weeks after that, last month, Goody came on during the NFL meetings and said it could be a possibility, absolutely, when asked about Jaire Alexander remaining a Green Bay Packer. And then the newest update earlier this week said that Green Bay has received interest and remained committed to making a deal. So it's been a lot of ups, it's been a lot of downs, it's been a lot of changes. And then here we stand today with a new Adam Schefter update to throw another little bit of a wrinkle in there. Alrighty, he was asked on 94.5 ESPN Milwaukee, Jaire Alexander, do you trade him? Do you cut him? Do you keep him? How would you vote? Here's what Schefter had to say. He said, I would vote that they would wind up releasing him. That would be my vote. But, of course, we'll see how the draft process plays itself out. Look, there have been ongoing conversations throughout the whole offseason. It's not like this is new or surprising. So, there it is, straight up. Adam Schefter, the NFL's best insider, believes that Green Bay is going to release Jaire Alexander. Right there. Easy and simple. And this is something, and I'll talk about this and go into this a little bit further, but something we've been talking about as a legit possibility for a very long time. Adam Schefter was asked the question. Now I'm going to ask you guys that same exact question. What happens with Jaire? Do they trade him? Do they cut him? Or do they keep him? You let me know in the comment section down below. Type T for trade, type C for cut, or type K for keep. You're about to get hit with a YouTube ad break when that time comes. Don't worry about it. Go down in the comment section. This is going to be the pinned comment in today's YouTube video. And go ahead, give me your answer. So it wouldn't surprise me one bit. Not one bit at all, okay? Because I've been talking about this for the entirety of this offseason. Since the birth of me hosting this channel on January 27th or something like that, 2 weeks after the end of the season, this has been a very common topic of discussion. And the reason why I've kind of been leaning towards, I think they're just going to release him one day, is because of what they can say, alrighty? If he is a pre-6-1 cut, they'd save $6.84 million. Good chunk of change. But then you look at what they'd save if he is a post-June 1st designation. That jumps up $11 million to $17.09 million. And then in 2026, they'd save $18 million. So if you look at it this way, it's always made financial sense to, at some point, if they can't find a trade partner, designate Jaire Alexander as a post-June 1st cut. It just saves you $11 million more. Now, the thing that's interesting about that is you can't touch that money. You can't use that money until after June 1st. That's the interesting wrinkle about it. However, free agency has come and it's gone. And so they're sitting here right now and saying, sure, he could be a post-June 1st cut. It's not like that we need that money now. Also, they're in a really good place with their cap space, sitting in the top 10 in the National Football League. So my take is it was always their preference to trade Jaire. I think that was always Goody's number one thing that he wished for, right? But I don't think they ever found the deal that they were looking for. We've heard a ton about how there have been a lot of teams interested. But Goody keeps on saying, we want to find a deal that's equally beneficial. that we can get what we think he's worth. And it's safe to say that they believe they haven't gotten anything equal up to what they think he's worth. Adam Schefter went on to say about Jaire Alexander, there have been some teams that have checked into it. Nobody's done the deal so far, like I just said. The Packers are holding out hope that I think when the draft comes, that somebody comes a cornerback short and comes to Green Bay and is willing to do something. But I think it's more likely they just wind up moving on from him. All right, so still keep an eye out on a draft night trade. Adam Schefter even went on after that to say, you know what, it would not be surprising at all. We see this happen all the time, but where his vote lies, where his thoughts lies, where his prediction lies, is that he's going to end up just getting released. That nobody's going to offer what Green Bay thinks he's worth, and that Green Bay is just going to say, you know what, we couldn't trade him. Let's just save the $11 million, add $17 million to the cap space for a guy who's only played 8 games over the last couple of seasons. Alrighty? That's an easy decision for Brian Gutekunst to make. And hell, maybe they turn that into, after June, going out and getting a big player. Whether that's by trade, and now you have money to pay him a contract, or whether that's somebody that, maybe a couple people that are still sitting there in free agency. So here are 3 teams, if you're keeping an eye on a draft night trade, that I think you should look at, okay? The Baltimore Ravens, for multiple reasons. Number 1, they have 2 fourth-round picks. They have 4 sixth-round picks. So they have a ton of draft capital. And also, Brandon Stevens, free agency, just left. Trey White, free agency, just left. Right now, their starting cornerback, one of them is Chidobe Awuzie. They're looking to get better. Also, we all know Jaire Alexander and Lamar Jackson play college ball together. Indianapolis and New York are 2 other really interesting options. New York, I think, would have made sense if it was an original, NFL free agency. Right when that opened up, they traded for him, but now they've paid Paulson Adebo that big contract. Indianapolis is a really interesting team to look at as well, because they've overall, if you look at the roster, have a really good team, and they believe if Anthony Richardson just, can shore some things up, and maybe they get an elite cornerback in there, they can truly compete, not only in their division, which is one of the easiest in all sports, but just in that entire conference, alrighty? So coming up, I know you guys have seen it. Jordan Love actually spoke on Jaire Alexander. I'm going to break down everything that he had to say in just a couple of seconds, because he went on the Kay Adams podcast, Up and Adams, as it's called, which is honestly very clever name. Little golf claps for Kay Adams for that. And he was asked about Jaire Alexander, okay? He was asked straight up what he thinks about the entire situation, which is always a vulnerable place to be in as the leader of a franchise, but he took it in stride, as he always does, and said the following. That's my guy right there. He's definitely a player we need back. Just the play style he plays with, who he is on the field. I mean, that's a guy we need to have around. So we'll see what happens. And this is nice. A very, very nice thing for Jordan Love to say. But, I wouldn't give it too much weight. I see a lot of people on social media and saying, Gutekunst better not trade Jaire Alexander because that's going to piss off Jordan Love, and then that's going to just ruin everything else with this franchise. It's going to have a big spiral effect. And, I don't read into it that way. I read into it like he probably likes Jaire Alexander, right? Him and Jaire Alexander are probably cool, but, he's the quarterback of this team. He's the leader of this franchise. What else is he supposed to say? Is he supposed to go on the Up and Adams podcast and say, you know what? I think we should just cut him. Save the $11 million. You know what? I think we should just trade him. No, he's not going to say that. He's going to say what he's been media trained to say, which is always the right thing, okay? And if I'm Jordan Love and I see the lack of availability that Jaire Alexander has had over the past couple of seasons, right? Playing 7 games in each of the last 2 years, missing 20 games in the last 2 seasons. And I'm thinking, you know what? We could save some money, possibly go make a big swing, get a wide receiver in here, maybe via trade, maybe go out and sign some free agents, maybe get a guy like Trey Hendrickson, TJ Watt via trade. If I'm Jordan Love, if I believe that we can get the money to make this team truly better by releasing a guy who hasn't necessarily been playing, I think it's a no-brainer, okay? My prediction for what happens, if you're wondering, a post-6-1 cut after the draft. I think they go into the draft and they say, you know what, we're open to offers. Maybe they'll answer the phone for a couple times. If Baltimore, New York, Indianapolis, maybe they call. But if they don't get exactly what they're looking for, if they don't get what they believe that he's worth as I knock my coffee cup over, then I think they're just going to say after the draft, you know what, we're going to designate him as a post-June 1st cut. He can sign with anybody after that. He doesn't have to wait until June 1st, but then they wait and get that money, and they get paid $17 million into the salary cap. You guys let me know, okay? Tell me, does what Love said about Alexander concern you, or do you think it's just quarterback speak? Let me know in the comment section down below by giving me a yes or a no. Before we get on out of here, I'm going to give you guys 3 cornerback draft targets that you need to look at as we get closer and closer, now less than a week away, for the 2025 NFL Draft. In round 1, a guy we've talked a lot about already is Jaire Alexander. I think he's the best cornerback in this class. I think he's better than Will Johnson. I think he'd come into any franchise and be a day 1 starter. Alrighty? You look a little bit more into him. He's not the biggest guy, 5'10", 3/4 inches. Maybe we can round up to 5'11". He's a little bit heavier than most 5'10" cornerbacks are. My projection for him, though, is I think he's going to be a top 15 pick. If there's enough teams that pass on him and he falls down to 23, hallelujah, praise the Lord, make that pick. But I just don't necessarily see that happening. But still, he's a guy to keep your eye on. Another guy to keep your eye on, Siobhan Revel Jr., cornerback out of East Carolina. He did tear his ACL this past season. Before that, he was absolutely balling in 2 games. He had like 2 interceptions, 2 pass breakups, and 8 tackles. He's a little bit bigger than Jaire Alexander is, 6'1", almost 6'2", 194 pounds. I kind of see him going somewhere in the middle of the second. I could see him going as high as early second, but I could also see him going as late second. And so you're sitting there at pick number 54. Would not be surprised one bit if Siobhan Revel Jr. is there or if he's not. Right? If you miss on both those guys, guy look at in round 3, Darian Porter, cornerback out of Iowa State. I really, really like Porter. Producer Dylan knows because I wanted him in the mock draft just the other day. Alrighty, he's a little bit bigger than all 3 of those guys. He's about 6'3", 195 pounds. He's incredibly long. He's incredibly fast. He can do a ton of stuff. He's very versatile in where you can put him on the defense. My projection for him is a middle to late third, probably closer to the middle. And so if you're picking right there in the 3rd round, probably close to 85, I think is their selection. Darian Porter Jr. might very well be there. And if that's your cornerback selection, I'd still feel very confident in it. Make sure you guys subscribe before you get on out of here. We give you daily Packers videos every single day. That's how it works. Join us right now. Hit that sub button.